No, I think directing for sure, because that's where kind of you're able to, I always say I always love writing and all that and stuff like that, but it was always like a means to an end in order to get your movie made, and then you're producing in order to get your movie made. So it was always kind of, facets to the directing for sure, to be able to kind of get your vision and tell stories and all that stuff. So it's good. Yeah, those things exist. That's what's crazy about them. It's like, it's not crazy, but it's like, these, when I got the script, it was so much like a, Roadhouse, Lionheart, old school 80s style thing. And we were trying to, or me personally, I was trying to find a way to make it contemporary and kind of make it feel cool and now. And, just kind of, also being just a fight fan of UFC and MMA and boxing, this, that, and the other. But I mean, now more than ever, underground, bare knuckle brawls, those kind of things. And it's like, I mean, a quick YouTube search, and you have guys doing these kind of things in their backyard all over America. So this was not a stretch at all, when it came to realism, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll probably end up searching on YouTube.
Oh, dude, yeah, a quick YouTube search, there's like thousands. Yeah, look, I mean, I think it felt like a very LA movie, so I think there was just, even though I was always wanted to make sure it felt very rooted in a kind of old school 80s throwback feel, I definitely was inspired by a lot of like Training Day, Warrior, Southpaw kind of things. So I tried to make it a little bit more gritty of a film in a way, where you have, crooked cops and that and the other, and a very LA tale, but then you have the underground fight stuff. So there was a lot of elements that we're trying to kind of check off boxes and trying to, pay a little bit of homages to, but definitely that kind of feel was what we were kind of, for me, I was always looking for and trying to make sure it's grounded all the time. So it wasn't, I think these movies are it's so easy to kind of veer off into like cheese territory, so I tried not to do that for sure. From the get-go. And it's one of those things, like, this is a bigger studio movie. The soundtrack would be like, it's like part of me wishes like the audience would see this movie with what I tempted to. I mean, it was like Cypress Hill, Beastie Boys, House of Pain. Like, it was like old school dope 90s classic hip-hop stuff with some new things, but obviously that's just a whole nother budget level and level. But it's one of those things where you see movies like this, it's really driven by the soundtrack and by music. It's really about a feel, right? So I made sure to call up some buddies and friends that are great artists that contributed to this. Buddy of mine named Nazo Bravo, who did some tracks before. He has his track in here, and then my buddy Corey Push, Havana Push. He did the title track, Lights Out. So we just wanted to make sure it definitely felt real,
Yeah, well, that's
But
great.
definitely,
Yeah.
it definitely had to drive it for sure. Because I mean, like some sort of like bot thing off of, I don't know, it just needed to feel real for sure. I would say, probably not anybody in particular, more just like the fight world in and of itself, and like I said, the cool thing is, in this movie, we're able to kind of showcase a lot of actual real MMA, UFC stars, Cowboy Cerrone is a legend, then Cub Swanson, who's also a legend, and Cub, he had like a cameo fight scene in the middle. He's from here. I live in Palm Springs. That's why a lot of this movie was actually shot in the Palm Springs area, believe it or not. So Cub is from here too. So we've been friends since like high school. So it's like, it was cool to have him, like, call him up, hey dude, come on, do a little fight scene, things like that, Tim Bradley, also another boxing legend, is from here. So there's kind of and then the gym that we shot out of is a very famous boxing coach, Coach Joel Diaz, who was also Tim Bradley's coach as well, Timothy Bradley, who's now a Hall of Famer in the boxing world. So there was a lot of kind of connections with the fight world for sure. And then obviously Frank Grillo is Frank.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like working with him had you worked with him before?
No, I've been wanting to work with Frank for a long time, been a fan. Funny enough, like I would always, we had a lot of friends in common, and, I box and stuff like that for fun and things like that. And so I would always see him at the same gym, which is Fortune's in LA. And I was always a big fan, and this, that, and the other. And, when this thing came across and the script, I go, man, this could be really perfect. And I think Frank nailed it. He's such a talent.
Yeah, he's great, and he
I think him
he's
and Mekhi
really
are great in it, so it was good.
yeah, yeah. Mekhi Phifer. I mean, my sister's favorite movie is 8 Mile. It's,
Yeah. We talked about that movie quite a bit when we were shooting, all of us, as in trying to make sure we kept feeling, everybody really worked hard to keep it grounded. You know what I mean? So it didn't veer off into kind of some sort of cheese territory. Everybody kind of be like, hey, we're real characters, real scenarios. Kind of, we were always trying to keep it grounded. Yeah, so I just signed on for a really cool project that I'll be shooting in Indonesia, I think, at the end of the year, called, I don't know if I could say it, it's the SHIT list. Yeah, I don't know if you can bleep it, but it's called the Shit List. It's a really cool project. It's very Kill Bill meets The Raid. That's going to be really, really fun. And I have a movie coming out, another one coming out in the summer. It's basically Richard Dreyfuss's return to the shark genre, so it's pretty crazy, called Into the Deep. That's going to be really fun, like a very straightforward, serious thriller, shark thriller. So that's really fun.
and you've worked with him before, right?
Yeah, I've definitely done a few with Richard. So this one, getting him back to this one was a trick. It was not easy to get him back into the genre, but the script was serious and it's not a creature feature kind of thing. It was definitely like a thriller. And the sharks are just kind of an element of that. So that's really fun. Looking forward to that. Definitely a few other projects in the works with the same writer from Lights Out and Section 8. So we have a few on deck for this year for sure.
That's awesome. Does your Dreyfuss movie coming out, does it have any sort of Jaws references? Or
no, I definitely tried not to do that. Yeah, like everybody was like, you gotta say we're gonna need a bigger boat. You're gonna, everybody was like, we gotta say so. I'm like, no, we don't.
Just curious. I mean, I think Jaws is my favorite Spielberg movie, so I had to ask. But
yeah, I know it's and he plays a very similar character, so
that's cool.
It's just an older guy.
Of course, yeah, that's great.
But he's a legend. He has great stories. I actually thought Iron Claw should have been up in there, and I didn't see it. Iron Claw was phenomenal, and I thought it would just I thought that was one that was like, damn, it's nowhere, which was crazy. So I thought Iron Claw definitely should have been in there somewhere for a lot of reasons.
I agree. My wife and I saw that movie on Christmas Day, actually.
Yeah.
And we loved it. And I agree. I forgot about that movie until, because like you said, when it doesn't get nominated, it just falls off the radar.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay. And then I thought that was definitely one besides all the rest. I mean, look, everybody up there is deserved, and there was obviously some, everybody's talking about the snubs and this, that, and the other, which I don't necessarily disagree with on some level, for sure. I think Greta Gerwig's a genius, but I think Iron Claw should have been right up there. I thought the directing was fresh. The fight scenes were good. Again, the choreography by a good buddy of mine who we've worked with before, Chavo Guerrero. I just thought that was a phenomenal movie.
That's cool. Are you going to the fight choreographer? Are you? So you said are you going to work with him in the future? Or
I hope so. We talk about it. I mean, I think he'll come to the premiere and things like that. I mean, Chavo's a legend as well, and he's doing really great work now. So definitely in the wrestling genre stuff. But I mean, he's the guy. So he's great.